miles of beaches, legendary sunsets, and spectacular scenery, Hawaii is famous for its natural beauty. But there is more to this collection of islands than its stunning landscape. Hawaiians are a proud people who honor their history and safeguard their culture.
When we talk about how Hawaii or the Hawaiians are unique, I think we have to associate it with all ancient cultures, in that all the ancient cultures had harmony. And so the uniqueness of Hawaii would be its location, its isolation, the fact that it's so far away, so far removed from all other destinations, that makes it very unique. And the culture grew from that base.
Before Hawaii became part of the United States, it was a kingdom. Among those in the royal family who made a lasting impact was Princess Bernice Pauahi Bishop. Defying her parents' wishes, Princess Pauahi married American businessman Charles Reed Bishop in 1850. Their passionate union lasted nearly 35 years, until the princess died of cancer at age 53. Devastated, Charles Bishop founded the Bishop Museum in Honolulu as a tribute to his beloved wife. The Bishop Museum houses one of the world's largest collections of Hawaiian artifacts. The preservation and exhibition of these relics was of deep significance to the princess and her husband.
I think that we could say that the creation of Bishop Museum was probably one of Charles Reed Bishop's most cherished actions. He had a very close relationship with his wife, Bernice Pauahi Bishop, and I am sure that after her death, it was very important to him to memorialize her. But I think also not only for his own emotional attachment and his emotional satisfaction to do this for this woman that he loved, I think he also felt very strongly a responsibility to place her possessions in a safe place, in a museum, where not only they would be kept and preserved, but that people could see them.
I think that today's museum is very much in line with Mr. Bishop's vision of what the future might be for Hawaii. I think that the foresight of Mr. Bishop and his wife was that there would be rapid change throughout the world, and that it would be very important for a place to be able to show what it was to be from Hawaii or what it was to be from the Pacific, and I think we've been very true to that vision.
Most love stories only impact the people who live them, but the story of Princess Bernice Pauahi and Charles Reed Bishop has influenced generations. Without their foresight and devotion to Hawaii and its history, the precious artifacts displayed in the Bishop Museum may never have been preserved and accessible to the hundreds of thousands who visit the Bishop Museum every year. Recognized throughout the world, Bishop Museum is the largest museum in Hawaii and the premier natural and cultural history institution in the Pacific. Located in the heart of Honolulu, Bishop Museum houses more than 24 million cataloged artifacts.
The goal of the Bishop Museum is to preserve, study, and tell the stories of Hawaii and the Pacific. And we do that in a variety of ways. We have displays, we have educational outreach, and that's our mission. I think that if you think about the future of Hawaii and the future of the world, as society starts to globalize and there are an increased sort of homogenization of the world, places like Bishop Museum are going to be very important. That as long as there's a place like Bishop Museum to tell the stories of Hawaii and the Pacific, that our culture will in fact inform the rest of the world's culture.
With 5 exhibit halls, Bishop Museum has something to suit the interests of every visitor. Visit the Polynesian Hall to explore the cultures of islands across the Pacific. View the personal belongings of members of the Hawaiian monarchy in the Kahili Room. Learn about local record-breaking athletes at the Hawaii Sports Hall of Fame. Explore the interactive Mamia Science and Adventure Center, which features volcanology, oceanography, and biodiversity. But the flagship of the Bishop Museum is its Hawaiian Hall.
When Hawaiian Hall was first built and completed in 1903, it was to accommodate expanding collections that we had. And so as our collections grew, we needed a new building. and that was why they built Hawaiian Hall. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, it is about portraying the Hawaiian people and doing so with a Hawaiian perspective and a Hawaiian worldview.
The layout of the Hawaiian Hall showcases the museum's artifacts through the perspective of Hawaiian eyes.
What we're doing differently in the Hawaiian Hall of today is that we're really showing the continuity of the Hawaiian community and that practices of the past have continued to today. So in a case filled with wooden calabashes or umeke, you might see in that case one that says 1850, and right next to it you would see an umeke that said 2009, and that it was made by Hawaiian artist Saul Appeal. We have an important narrative story that we want to tell in the hall. Part of that is about the origins of the Hawaiian people, about the birth of the Hawaiian Islands and how they were peopled. And we don't have artifacts to tell that story of origins. So what better way to do that than to ask our artists of today to create artwork that depicts the origins of our people.
What we'd like to try to have within a Hawaiian exhibit would be a sense of living, that the culture is still living, that it is not just the past, but it is the present.
The Bishop Museum is dedicated to preserving Native Hawaiian culture and its natural history. As the fourth largest museum collection in the United States, Bishop Museum is a must-see for anyone visiting Hawaii.
The future of Bishop Museum is that it is going to continue to fulfill the role that it already has for a great many years. It is going to be the repository not only of many artifacts, not only cultural artifacts pertaining to human culture, but many millions of natural history artifacts and specimens as well. It's going to teach based on the knowledge which is not only in the memories of the people here, but is contained in the writings, the documentation, and the artifacts, the physical objects themselves. So that's what Bishop Museum has done, and that's what Bishop Museum is going to continue to do.
For more information, visit bishopmuseum.org.